again, Friday night. Welcome to the CY Fest live stream. If you're watching Death Side now, put down pick up your phone. We were talking about CY Fest actually, me and Rachel, before you guys go on. I don't know, too many bands.
Too many bands.
All the bands, all playing at the same time.
Yeah, there's like 3 concurrent shows that are all way too many bands. Bill's there.
It's exhausting.
No, it's not. It's tomorrow.
Oh, so it's not on yet. It starts tomorrow.
I think there's a pre-show or something today.
Okay.
But
there's always a pre-show.
An after show. Anyway, enough about CY Fest. This is where all the action is going to be tonight. Let's do the like and subscribe as always. Here we go. Like and subscribe. There you go. That's it. Oh, the blue light is on in the chat. That means someone has said something. Let's see who it is. Hey, it's James. Hey, James. James Cathcart is still in Japan. He's been in Japan twice now this year, and he's still here. He's buying all the rare records. Hi, James. And he's also been to every disc union in the Tokyo area, which should be in the Guinness Book of Records, I think.
How many are there?
There's a lot of them, and James has been to all of them. Cheers, James. Of course, he's in the same time zone as me, so it's our Saturday morning. All right.
Good evening, James.
Good evening. All right, let's go. As always, we've got actually 5. I have a feeling more than 5. We'll see how it goes. Records that we're super excited to talk about. It's going to be a great show. So let's get going. I got my first pick. I'm gonna start in Japan and I'm gonna finish in Japan. Oh, Hazel, thanks for coming back on. Good to see you again. Before I get going.
Thanks for inviting me.
Pleasure. Daniel, 3rd time, 4th time?
Second time.
Wow. Okay. Rachel's been on like 5 times, maybe 5, 4, 5.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Hey, Scooter's here. Hey. Midlife crisis from San Diego. Yeah.
He's at the right place.
Yes. Come to the right place. Yes.
Yeah. We were talking about that too before.
Yeah.
I'm going
before we started.
Midlife crisis. Okay, I'm gonna start in Japan and finish in Japan tonight. Not only because I actually live here, but record-wise as well. I'm gonna start with Japan, finish with Japan. So let's go back to the south of Japan, the city of Fukuoka in Kyushu Prefecture, 1983, something like that. Noisy stuff. There was a band that formed in around 1982 at 1983 that quickly changed their name. When they changed their name, they put out a flexi disc and some demo tapes. And the demo tapes were reissued on vinyl by King's World in the mid-90s in kind of stupidly limited 800 copies, I think. But anyway, these are like the Guy demos. Super noisy, like brain drill, dentist drill, like Japanese noisecore, obviously influenced by Chaos UK and Disorder.
No low end.
A couple of demos. Look, here we go. This is the second demo. Damnation. Good stuff, but super noisy, like dentist drill guitars and stuff. But for some reason, they decided to change their name back to the name they had in the beginning. It's complicated, right? This is why I'm showing all this stuff to set the scene. So they changed their name back to the name they had originally, which of course is the Swankys.
Oh.
So when they got back together, this is the first thing that they recorded as the reformed Swankys. This is also like a demo tape. Again, King's World reissued in 1985. No, mid-90s, sorry. This is from 1985, but they reissued it on vinyl in the mid-90s. And then, finally, I'll get to my pick now. I'll get to my actual pick now. People have been
watching the master at work of sneaking stuff in.
People have been waiting for this to be reissued. It's never been reissued on on vinyl before. And thanks to the fine folks at General Speech and King's World Records, it's finally here. Of course, I'm talking about this one. The very best. Hero the Swankys. Look at that. It totally changes the colour of my face just by holding up the pink record. It's crazy. I mean, people are super excited to, like, finally. I mean, obviously people do have the original. It's super expensive record. Like, it's like a $600 record these days. But it's so nice to have this, like, as a reissue. It's so well done. And they even went, this is kind of unbelievable, they even went to the trouble of getting it, like, half-speed remastered at Abbey Road Studios.
Ooh.
Which people might think, what's the point of that? It's just like a noisy hardcore record. What are you doing? But, like, honestly, this is a really good sounding record. Like, you know, the instruments are really well separated, and I know, apparently it's the first ever, like, hardcore punk record to be, like, mastered at Abbey Road Studios. It's quite something.
I've been excited for that one. I've never listened to this one on vinyl because it's like way, way, way out of my price range. Yeah. So I've only ever had it on, you know, like a crappy burn CD in the car stereo type of thing. I'm looking forward to that.
But it's funny. I was even, like, listening to it a little bit on, like, my iPhone the other day, and it even sounds pretty good, like, on an iPhone for, like, such a noisy record. It's the sound of it is incredible. You know, it's definitely influenced by Chaos UK and Disorder, but it's like they're putting their own spin on it. Plus, like, half of it's kind of like Sex Pistols inspired punk. So you put these two things together, and it's something kind of really original sounding, I think.
Yeah, they've got a, like, weird catchiness to them that a lot of bands that are just going for the straight noise don't capture. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I like them so much. I like a lot of the straight noise stuff too, but when you give it, like, a little bit of that, you know, more like rock and roll, like catchy, memorable songs, that's, like, killer to me.
Agreed, absolutely agreed. That's what kind of sets them apart, really. You know, it's like, okay,
noise with hooks, basically.
Yeah, like bouncing bass lines and, like, kind of catchy melodies, but, like, super noisy. It's only really the guitar tone that is, like, the noise aspect of it, really. I suppose it's like some of the vocals are kind of, like, noisy as well. But James has asked me a question. I must answer it. Okay, this is the standard, like, tip-on sleeve that you'll get, like, in Japan and in the States, and, you know, whoever gets it. There's actually one tiny difference between, like, the ones that are in Japan and the ones that are in the States, and it's in the center label. Like, the Japanese ones have a very tiny King's World Records logo, and the American ones have a very tiny, like, General Speech logo on the center labels. But there is a limited edition Japan issue, which is only available in, like, record shops in Fukuoka, and here it is. Whoa, look at the difference. Look at this. I ruined mine already. I only got it yesterday. Look at it. It's all, like, messed up and everything. So it's this wrap around sleeve with, like, a sort of slightly altered artwork from the second, like, Swankys 7-inch. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I guess Tom had a few of these as well. I know. It's so, like I said, I just ruined mine just walking home. It's all like messed up and everything already. So, and you get these nice posters to, like, hang on your wall if you want to, in the limited edition. There you go. An exciting, like, reissue that's well deserved and well, like, overdue.
Yeah.
But having said that, that's not my favorite Swankys record.
And that's not the record you're showing.
That is my
Like, for records before we get to the actual record.
No, that is my
Actually, like, there's another thing.
That is my pick. But you know, I think there's not many people that will agree with me on this, and I can't show the front of this record because YouTube won't like it, so I'll just show the back. But I'm a big fan of the second Swankys record, where they just got rid of all the noise and just went for, like, straight up, like, 77 punk. I love this record. This is like super catchy all the way through. But that's not my pick.
Yeah,
so.
That's the only one I own on
This
any
one?
any kind of swanky stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, I'm a pop.
You're a pop guy. Yeah.
Yeah, pop guy. It's catchy.
And it has like reworkings of older songs where they like punk them up more, like, with no noise. I know.
It's like chord structure, cool.
Yeah.
Usually I don't like it when bands do like multiple releases with multiple versions of the same song on it, but they can get away with it because a lot of the different versions actually sound different.
They do. In fact,
Yeah, significantly different.
I think from the records I just showed, there's 4 different versions of the knife will not open because of the rust. I think there's like 4 different versions throughout all of these records. So,
I mean, if there's enough meat on the bone for them to do something interesting with the song, like kind of make it being like, okay, here's without the noise, it's a straight up rock and roll. This is what it sounds like. And you're like, oh, that's great.
Yeah. And then they slowed it right down on the second LP.
Mm-hmm.
Great band. There you go. All right, Hazel, what's your first pick?
All right, mine's going to be real predictable. Most people who have talked to me in the last year or so probably are going to have an easy time guessing what this is. We're going to talk about a new release that just officially dropped like a month ago at Skullfest, and we're going to Seattle.
Ooh.
This is the new LP by Axefear. It's called Prophetic End, and it's out on Archaic Records, which I would give a special shout out because my friend Evelyn, who runs Archaic Records and is amazing, it was just her birthday, and it's just one of the Axefear guys' birthdays too. So happy birthday, we love you. Amazing record. I saw this band last summer. They were like newer and just dropped a demo, and it completely blew me away. It was at Concatenate Fest out in the woods. They had the sunset spot, so they start playing like right at dusk, and then by the time they're done, it's night. It's just the perfect spot to be in, and really, really good, heavy, gloomy, very Crust. It's everybody I know who likes that kind of music is hyped on that record. I have not heard anybody say a bad thing about it. I think it's awesome. They do like just the right amount of like metal to it for me, which I'm a little picky about. But they're exactly what I want to hear. Super like some parts are kind of slower, some parts are like the super gloomy like intro parts. Exactly the kind of thing I would want from a Crust band, basically. They're not like super melodic or whatever, except in those like spooky moments, and then they just floor it into total like crushingness. Really awesome live too. So I have 2 things that are like my 2024 record of the year so far. One of which isn't out on vinyl, so I'm not talking yet. So I'm not talking about it yet. But it's between this and another Crust record that I'm not going to say what it is yet. So yeah, everybody should buy it. Happy birthday, everybody! Great choice.
Now Mike has to have you back when it comes out so we can find out what it is.
That was a cunning trick.
Where are they from?
Seattle.
Okay.
Yes.
And they just toured the East Coast with cancer spreading. They played Skullfest, and then I like ended up hopping on a bus, leaving my house at like 4 a.m. a couple days later to go catch them in Philly again. So
nice.
That kind of band.
Okay.
That's how I judge bands. Like when I lived in Athens, Ohio, which is like a rural college town, we didn't get a whole lot of shows, except sometimes I would book shows and sometimes my friends would book shows, but it was rare. So ever since then, I grew up in Philly, got like super spoiled. Then I lived in this like college town, and I developed my tests for whether or not I like a band. There's the Columbus test, which is would I have driven an hour and a half one way and an hour and a half back to go see this band? There's the Cincinnati test. Would I drive 3 hours one way and 3 hours back to see them? So this band passes not only the Cincinnati test, but also the I'm going to go out at 4:30 a.m. and catch a Greyhound bus to Philly test.
That's quite a test.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a long Greyhound ride.
Great name. Are we sort of talking like, Amoebix, Axe Grinder style?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
The name of the album, Prophetic End, always makes me think of the Greek band Chaotic End. They don't sound exactly like them, but I think if you like Chaotic End, you would like this, and vice versa.
Okay.
I actually do like Chaotic End. Well, Greek Crust is like a thing just all by itself. It's so good.
Yeah.
Nice. Axefear. There you go. All right, Daniel, what's your first pick?
I'm gonna switch my first one to kind of stay in theme.
Okay.
All right, so this is going back a few years, mid to late 2010s. I'm not sure kind of where kind of like the Blackened D-beat, Blackened Crust thing starts, but this was kind of one of the bands for me that like when all that stuff started, I was like, that's how you do it. They're from the Pacific Northwest too. I think Portland, because I know a couple of them went on to do other bands that I really like. But I don't know if you can read it. Murderous. Yeah.
I remember that.
The Last Thing You Will Ever See. And I'm not a huge D-beat guy because, you know, I got into it kind of too late for a lot of it to be distinct for me. So like, but this record in particular, because they have another, they have a 12-inch EP that came out after this. That's also really good. But this record is like a 10 out of 10 for me because what they do is it's D-beat. It's got a little bit of crust to it, kind of like that epic crust thing to it. But some of the production choices and some of the looks like they are from Portland. Yeah, because two of the girls in this band went on to be in Witch Vomit and Grave Dust.
Oh,
which are great bands.
I do like Witch Vomit.
Check out Grave Dust too. They did one record and it's. But so this is like D-beat with like it has kind of the right verb in the right places to make it sound a little more metal. There's some guitar choices that are very kind of like, I don't know, like early Oldman's Child, like that kind of early 90s kind of when it was trending melodic, but black metal was still kind of like kind of an atmospheric thing to it. And they do that at there's enough variety in the songs where you're like, okay, this is more of like a straight up fucking, you know, 4 on the floor punk rock D-beat thing, but the vocal comes in and that reverb comes in. The guitars do really cool, interesting stuff. Some really neat melodic kind of noodling on some of it. Fantastic record. Exists on CD too, which, as you know, is near to my heart. Anything I will get on CD. But yeah, so great band out of Portland. There's a 12-inch single that they did where it kind of went a little more kind of straight. They dropped a little, I feel, production-wise, they dropped a little bit of kind of like the Blackened thing, but still some really solid songs on that. But this one is just like, and one of the things that like, for me, records, sometimes really great records don't hit that 10 out of 10 because the sequencing is kind of weird. This one, somebody sat down and thought about like how do these songs go one into the other. So big recommend. I think they have a Bandcamp up with it. Murderous, The Last Thing You Will Ever See. I think they still have a store where they're selling off like some of their merch and stuff. They have like really cool shirts and stuff. So strong recommend. I don't think it's an expensive record to buy if you see it in the wild. So that's my first pick.
Nice.
Cool.
I need to revisit them because I remember listening like once or twice when they came out, but I never owned any of their records, so I never really like properly digested it.
Yeah, when did this record come out?
I want to say it was 2016.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar at all.
Like me, and you prefer that kind of format. And it's on Aborted Society Records.
Okay. From the Czech Republic? No.
Seattle, actually.
Okay.
I imagine that's a name that's happened a couple times in the history of metal and punk.
I think so. Nice. All right, Rachel, what's your first?
All right, I'm going to stick with my original first pick, which is semi-thematically linked to what Hazel and Daniel just showed, because it's also from the Pacific Northwest. It's kind of, I guess at this point, it's kind of an old chestnut. And it's a band that I started thinking about because the bass player of my band wrote a song, and she was like, I want to do vocals like this record, like kind of in that style. And I got mixed up because this band put out an LP. I mean, I don't know, they also put out 7 inches and stuff, but they put out an LP, then they put out a tape, then they put out another LP, then they put out another LP. She said their third LP. I actually, when I was driving to Skullfest, listened to their second LP, but it's close enough. And so I was already listening to this, and then I just kept listening to it, and then I like ordered it on a record because I didn't actually own it. I was listening to it on digital, and then it came up on Facebook, and actually Hazel commented on it. I can't remember if it was in a group or just a friend posted it or something, but it's Harum-Scarum.
Once you said about the bass player wanting to do vocals like that, I was like, I think I know what this is going to be.
Yeah, Hazel knows my bass player. But yeah, this is like the bass player in my band is Janine from Witch Hunt. So if you've heard Witch Hunt, you can see that Janine and Nicole, who plays guitar in my band, like this. Harum-Scarum. And at first I was like, it's like my association with Harum-Scarum is their first album. And I was like, you want to do vocals? Like the first album, they have a different singer, I think. Is it a different singer, Hazel? I don't know. Yeah. It's a different singer. And her style is like super growly, like rough vocals. And I was like, I don't know, it's not exactly our style. But then I was like, oh yeah, like they went all like still aggressive, but like melodic with like tons and tons of vocal harmonies. And I think they went even more in that direction on their third album. But yeah, this is like, I haven't thought about it for like 20 years. And I saw them play a few times when they toured. And like, but I never owned this record before. And yeah, it's awesome. It's just like, it's from like early 2000s, 2001. And they put it out themselves. And yeah, it's kind of like peace punky, kind of melodic, like a bird. They have a bird, always a great sign. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not so great at describing what music sounds like, but I feel like a lot of people who like are familiar with this record or with this band, like they're kind of a big one for like PC punks, peaceful punks.
Nice.
I think that's my favorite of theirs.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance between like the earlier, more hardcore stuff, and then like they got a little. They still were never like slick, but it's like they kind of hit their stride on this record. Then when I realized it was the third record, I went back and listened to the third one too, but I don't own it.
I'm not familiar with them, but I did have a Witch Hunt and Fighting Dogs in my pile. That was happening this week. That maybe happening.
There's definitely a lot of like similarity. I mean, Witch Hunt was around before Harum-Scarum. Or kind of, I mean, at the same time, but they started before.
Yeah, I love Witch Hunt.
But they were definitely like in the same vein for a lot of.
We'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah.
Did any of you ever get to see Harum-Scarum?
I saw them at Rubato. I can't remember with Behind Enemy Lines or something like that. Yeah.
Nice.
They're really good.
They played like the year that I started going to punk shows, but I didn't have any money, so I missed it. And that's one of those like long-term regrets of mine.
Those ones that you think back on, like, why? Sometimes I'm like, I didn't go to that, and I don't even remember why.
It was like walking distance from my parents' place too, so it would have been super easy. But it was like, I have no money right now. I can't go.
Didn't pass the walking from my parents' house test.
Like I don't have the $3.
Right. I was 13 and I'd like already spent my pocket money on something else, not at school.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna switch around my second pick too. It doesn't. Oh yeah, I am. I'm doing it. I'm going in. So when Will Jarrett talked about this band, like I looked it up. It was episode 61. Like Will Jarrett talked about this band, and I was just sat there thinking, I know this band. I've heard so much about this band. Everyone loves this band, but I've never heard of this band. Like I've got to rectify this as soon as I can. And I could have gone on YouTube and blah blah blah. But as often happens in Japan, in Osaka, you'll go down to the record shop a week or so later. There's a couple of records by that band that someone was talking about last week. So I feel like I did pretty well with this band. I got lucky. So I managed to get their double discography record. So I think Will talked about the 10-inch this band put out called Damn If You Do, Damn If You Don't.
Oh, I know what you're. Yeah, this is like one of my absolute favorite bands of all time.
Oh wow! So it appears on this double LP.
Oh yes,
discography, which I was super excited. I was like, oh great! It's good to have all the early stuff. It's all the singles, some new songs as well. I think at the time, and then the 10-inch and some of the compilation tracks and stuff. I love all this stuff. But at the same time, I bought another record by this band, and it kind of surprised people when I posted it because I think people didn't know that it existed because it's like they broke up and kind of reformed, right? So this is my choice. This is my pick.
I love that record.
Yeah,
so
I have that sitting next to my stereo right now.
So I listened to this first, I listened to it a lot, and then I kind of went back to the discography record, and I don't like the earlier stuff as much as I like this record. I'm doing the Swankys again. I like the latest stuff more than the early stuff. That's just the way I came into this band. This was my entry point into this band, and then going back, I was like, the early stuff's a little bit ramshackle, not as well recorded.
What label was that? Is that Middleman Records?
It's one of those ones. It's on Man in Decline.
Man in Decline.
Yeah, it's on 8 different labels.
Yeah. It's on Alerta Antifascista.
Yeah, so Man in Decline was the guy that I used to talk to him. He loves that kind of Western European female vocal dark punk stuff. So he's the reason that I got Vanna Inget and No More Art and all that stuff, because he brought a lot of that stuff to the US when it started coming out. So the reason I have that record is because, as he started, he would do stuff and I was like, female vocal Western European punk, just send it to me whenever it comes in.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that was a great label, by the way. Their stuff, I'm really sad he stopped doing it because he had such a great ear for hardcore and for punk.
Yeah, I feel like I've showed quite a few records on Man in Decline. Not only me, other people too. Over the course of the episodes, but I don't know, man. This is my favorite. It's better produced. And she sings in Swedish on this record, and I think it just goes better with the music to me. That's just a personal preference, but yeah, just amazing. And there's one song. I mean, most of the songs are kind of in that mid-paced, driving melodic punk. But I think it's the last song actually, where they do that, but they kind of slow it down to half that speed, and it's so powerful. Yeah, and so anthemic. It's incredible. And actually, every time I play this record, I have to stand up and play it again. I played it 3 times last night. It's so good. It's incredible.
I have the same problem with that record that I have with the Vanna Inget stuff, where I'm like, it's that song, the third one with the title in Swedish that I will never remember.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, in between that record and their earlier stuff, there was another band.
Okay.
That was all the same people. And it's excellent, and their name is in Swedish, and I don't remember it. Kenko is in it. I think Josephine, the singer, is in it. It's almost all the same people.
We're talking about oh, it's not because it's in Swedish. I was thinking about Imperial Leather was also
Oh no, yeah, I don't think that's just Kenko's in that band.
Okay.
Emil from the Spider Cunts, but I don't think anybody else from Burning Kitchen was in the band. I could be wrong, but not the singer anyway.
Right.
But yeah, I love, and actually plug. I just put out a benefit for mutual aid in Gaza. That it has a bunch of different bands on it. It has like an old live Astronomicon track. It has like new stuff by Hellshock. It has a bunch of other stuff. But the most exciting thing to me is it has an unreleased Burning Kitchen song from that session.
Wow.
Which is fucking awesome. Like I was like I basically fell over dead, and now I'm dead. When I found out that they had that.
Yeah, so it's sort of been like, so it's 2016, right? So that would have been from 2016. I guess it's from the same session.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was when we moved to Philly. I remember it clearly. Ordering it, and I have the T-shirt too.
I love the artwork too. It kind of looks like
the artwork is really, really cool.
Kind of rudimentary penile-ish when you put it far away. But you know, people are always say, well, you know, Kenko was in this band, you know, man, you know, he was in Dischange and No Security and Meanwhile and The Verdict. But you know, I think the best part of this band is the singing, which is like Josephine Finer. That's what really makes it stand out. It doesn't really matter playing the other instruments too much. And of course, like the songs are amazing, but I really think it's like it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, she's an amazing singer, and Sarah sings like harmonies and like they're
yes,
great. But I do love the way. It's like it's this beautiful melodic, it's like powerful singing, but the music is aggressive. You know, it's not like pretty music. It's not like
and they don't.
Poppy.
It's one of those bands that doesn't rely on distortion to make the heaviness of the guitars. Like they can drive it and make it heavy just using kind of like a tone that doesn't like assault your ears or anything. Speaking of early Swankys stuff, like
just like 10 out of 10 record for me, this one. I kind of wish I had started from the beginning, but I still like this stuff on the discography. But this is gonna always be my go-to record, I think, with this band.
Yeah, that's a React played with them in Sweden in like 1999 or something like that, and Bill brought back all the records, and I was like, so good.
I think I might at the time. I might have, because they're just for the time frame, and it was like just the name of the band. I don't know. Maybe I just thought they were kind of like, maybe they did play together, but I thought they were more of a kind of a Refused like kind of a band. Like that's what I thought like back then. So I didn't check them out for some reason. But
you were wrong.
I was like, I'm wrong. I'm wrong quite a lot. I'm very wrong in this.
Let's not focus on the fact that you were late to the party. Let's just celebrate that you got there at all.
Hey, it's good to be late to the party. Like, you know, you miss all the annoying guests. I always love it when you kind of eventually get to a band. You know, it's been worth the wait, and it's like, oh yeah, there's still like stuff out there to be discovered. You know, it's always exciting. So, Burning Kitchen. Längtande Djuret on Man in Decline Records. There you go. All right,
sure.
Hazel, what's your next pick?
All right, we're going back to the Pacific Northwest for this one,
right?
But very different musical direction.
Nice.
This came out in 2015 or thereabouts, and it is Nudity's full-length Astronomicon.
Oh,
this is like a rock record. This, if you like big riffs, if you like cool guitar solos, if you like that kind of like
who's gonna say no to that
spaciness. Was that?
Who's gonna say no to big riffs and cool guitar solos?
There's people out there.
Yeah, it's got kind of the like weird like spacey catchiness that some psych rock has. I'm not like a super expert in psych rock. Like I will hear bands sometimes be like, "This is good, I like this," but I don't have like a ton of comparisons for it. I just know that it's good. And one of the things like this, I bought this and it's like a frequent listen for me at this point. Like I've had it like 9 years or so, and it's still like one that is out like a lot. talking about like sequencing and the order of songs, that's something I like to pay a lot of attention to, and like something that always grabs me is, you know, there's certain things that you expect from like the first 3 songs on a record, setting up that like opening sequence. That's something that I like think about a lot. And this one does it really well because it starts off with this like big rock song that's powerful and catchy and is this big anthemic chorus. And then the second one is like, you know, a little bit more subdued. And then the third one is long. The third one is like 9 minutes, and it goes through all these different parts and then hits this like wild climax of like harmonized guitar riffs and then a like big, just super powerful, chunky ending riff. And like, then after that, there's one sort of a, like sparkly kind of instrumental track. And there's a lot of diversity on here, which I really like. Like each song sounds super different and is really distinctive and memorable, and they're all good. There's nothing on here that's like a throwaway track. So it's been a favorite. It's gonna continue to be a favorite, I'm sure. I don't know if they're still like super active or not. I saw them on a flyer that somebody from out west posted like a few months ago. So I'm hoping that they're still around because I'd love to hear more stuff. This is the only record of theirs that I have, but it rules. So more would be awesome.
When was that out?
2015, I think. That's when I bought it.
These things are already creeping up to be 10 years old, you know. So
Yeah.
time's marching on. I want about the big riffs though. Although my last pick is a record with no riffs, but we'll find out what they.
Yeah, there's elements in some of it that's like a little bit new wave of British heavy metal-ish, even though it's not like it's not like a metal record at all. But it's got kind of that like it's got
metal anyway, so
it's got like a little bit of the vibe of some isn't like the solos mostly. It's makes me think of some of the solos and leads in some like random new wave of British heavy metal, like 1 7-inch bands that you find in like YouTube compilations and all that. It's like, which is awesome as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I'm all.
So I love a little bit of that.
Like, every episode for the last 3 weeks, I love all like new wave British heavy metal, all of it. It's like, nothing I don't like. So I'm all about anything that even sounds remotely like that. I'm all in.
Did you hear that Night Fever record, Mike?
You know what? I bought it. Yes. It's not on my best of the year list. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's like it sounds like Ignite in their like straight edge era. If they did a bunch of drugs and listened to like Manila Road or something like that.
I think I might have shown it on the show, and I might have been excited about it.
Oh, I think so. Maybe someone showed it for sure.
Yeah, I was kind of excited because it has got a certain sound to it that's kind of exciting, but then I realized that I really didn't like it at all. So.
What's the Bee Gees' influence on it? Like scale of 1 to 10.
about as much Bee Gees' influence as tragedy.
All right, I'm gonna use that segue to
Bee Gees.
Change my. Well,
I'll take some mid-period Bee Gees.
They've written at least 2 of my favorite songs ever. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for the Babes.
I love the Bee Gees. Yeah.
You Don't Know What It's Like, and I Started a Joke. Like you can't. I like mid 90s Bee Gees. They did a song called "Paying the Price of Love." That's like a dance pop track, and I play it in the house, and my girlfriend I don't think likes it. She's been nice enough to not say anything when I play the Bee Gees. But my pick,
I love like some pre-disco post-psych Bee Gees, like To Whom It May Concern and stuff like that. Anyway, sorry. It's a good thing I was here for the ABBA record the other week.
I think this is Nudity, right? Not the Bee Gees we're talking about with this comment.
I want to hear that. I want to hear that.
Right. The Bee Gees have a record out that sounds like AC/DC.
So like early 2000s Bee Gees has this like space rock, like really fuzzy
boogie.
All right, so my connection is that I pop, like melody really grabs me, which is I'm really into grindcore too, which is weird, like kind of I guess two sides of the same coin that I like. But on the pop side, the next record I'm going to pick was my record of the year it came out, and it's an indie pop record, and it's Young Enough by Charlie Bliss. And female vocals again, but the songwriting on it is like just imagine like perfect radio mid-90s kind of alternative indie poppy stuff, but with like, and I hate using the term, but kind of like the cuteness and the sweetness of it taken up to like levels where you only see that in like indie pop. Like if you go into like the Softies and Tiger Trap and stuff like that, where it's like it gets a little too romantic, a little too cutesy for kind of radio. But this record, there's songs on it that are like straight up power pop, like just guitar driven power pop. There's like a keyboard ballad that's pretty amazing. The vocalist is really like infectious and energetic, and she has like a really great delivery. It's, to me, again, it's another 10 on 10 record that just was actually listening to it a lot this week because they have a new record that came out this year, and I've been listening to that like a whole lot. But I figured just one Charlie Bliss record for today. Okay. So yeah, and as much as I like the new one, and I love the new one, and they're the kind of band that they will tour and they will play like an unironic cover of Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles, and it'll sound fantastic and they'll get the whole crowd into it and stuff. So yeah, I had to go back to this, and I was like, yeah, two songs that I haven't listened to in a while, and I've just been listening to it on a loop. And yeah, it's one of my favorite records of the last 10 years. Charlie Bliss.
Swedish?
No, American. Yeah. And just, yeah, if you're into indie pop, especially like the late 90s indie pop stuff, if you're into any like kind of the mint records, cutesy stuff from the mid 90s, like this is taking that and putting it on like a Kelly Clarkson radio. And the other thing that I really love about them is that they take, even though it's like pop stuff, they don't kind of, you know how like sometimes if you get too much into the pop stuff, it doesn't feel like a band anymore. It feels like a produced song, not a song that a band came up with. That doesn't happen with them. All their stuff feels like really organically based in like kind of the band setting. So yeah, if you're in the mood for pop, for power pop, Charlie Bliss, this record, Young Enough, really recommend it.
Nice. Wow, good variation so far on the show. Yeah.
From D beat to indie pop.
There you go. All the music. All right.
I guess
Rachel.
I'll do the line between D beat and indie pop. This it is episode number 88. So I thought that I would do this record because it has a cover of Hitler's in the Charts Again by The Exploited on it.
Nice.
And it's by a band that I know that Mike really likes. It's a band that's latest album is like almost verging on a twee or like Reckless Eric kind of singer-songwriter-y punk thing. Mike, you have shown one of their records, and I know that you really love it. It's can you see that?
Wow, that's
Reissues, so it's hard to see.
Oh, the neutrals. Yeah.
It's a Rent Your House EP. And yeah, it has a fucking excellent Exploited cover on it. And I love The Exploited. I love that song.
That is one of the best that's one of the best Exploited songs. It really is. Like I remember
it's a great song. It's it's anti-fascist, obviously.
Yeah.
And this is like a more kind of punky sound than their newer stuff. It's like impossible to see it.
There it is.
It's called Rent Your House. The EP is called Rent / Your House, and that's a song. But yeah, it has 4 songs. It's on Domestic Departure Records, which is Erica from Collate's label.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, and actually, like, yeah, like it's like kind of jangly, super catchy, a little bit like 77 punk Buzzcocks kind of thing. And actually, they, on that same compilation I was talking about that I put out, which is called Yes Liberation, find it at dissidents.bandcamp.com. They do a cover of what's the name of that song? The Buzzcocks D-Beat song. In my head, it's like "You Tear Me Up," but that's not it. That's like an old R&B song, but it's something. It's "You Something Me."
That's what they say is like the first D-beat song, right? People say that.
Yeah, and they really lean into the D-beat. Like it is very like anarcho-y, punky, like not what you would expect from them if you're just familiar with Newtown Dream. But yeah, great band. It's Alan from this band is from Scotland. They're from Oakland, but
I love Alan's great. I love Alan so much.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
Yes.
And he was also in that band Giant Haystacks.
Yeah, he was.
Which was like a kind of
there we go.
Like post punky, like Minute Many. Yeah.
Alan.
Great band. Yeah, really just like fantastic songwriting, like so catchy. Like every record has like just songs that get stuck in your head and like
it's funny,
are really memorable.
There's a little kind of review of this record. It's on Disc Union in Japan. It's in Japanese. When you put it through like the translator, it's like Alan Norton's very boring vocals. Like it's like, but they're so amazing. Like he's kind of talking basically, right? Pretty much just talking, but it just fits so well, and he's got such a lovely voice.
He's got like a character.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. It's not like very singy and it's not very shouty, but it's like it's pretty one note. But it's the style of it is like fantastic. He's like, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I've been trying to get the first record too. I haven't found it yet, but what a great band.
Yeah, Kebab Disco.
Check out the Neutrals from San Francisco, but via Scotland.
Yeah, Oakland.
Yes.
The other side of the way.
Yeah, that's definitely like in my top 10 records of the year, the Neutrals record. Unlike the Night Fever record, which isn't even in the top 50.
It's only 17.
Okay, I think I can keep. Yeah, I think this works. I'm going to kind of keep it in the sort of vague indie pop world for my third pick, and it's in Sweden. They're from Sweden. Actually, I got to say thank you to Daniel because he was the one that talked about this band in the Facebook group. His words inspired me to give him a listen. Daniel sends me tons of links to listen to on the.
I imagine a folder of just
like
links.
Imagine this record collection, but in like link form. that's what's in my inbox. But sometimes it pays off to listen to these links. It definitely did in this case because it happened again. I like this band. Can I find their records? Yes, I can. I found 2, except one's on CD, so I'm not allowed to show it. And
I know what it is then.
Anyway, Sweden, it's kind of indie pop, right? Kind of.
Yeah, it has moments. Depending also, like the later ones get poppier.
I'm going to show, what's this one? This is their second. Oh, yeah, it's their second LP. So,
so
good. About the band. There we go. Makthaverskan. What did I say that in a Scottish accent?
Makthaverskan.
There you go. What a
Makthaverskan, I think.
Yes, thanks. What are we talking about here? Wow, it's kind of indie pop. It's kind of melodic punk. It's kind of a little bit shoegazy, a little bit, but it's mostly like mid.
It has like a Scottish tweed thing to it, but
from Sweden, yeah. I was kind of it's one of the, okay, you can probably imagine. Okay, I looked this record up a little bit just for kind of dates and labels, and band members. So, but it got like a really very pretentious and wordy review on Pitchfork, which even though it was written in English, I couldn't understand. Like,
That's like Pitchfork.
Does Pitchfork still exist?
I guess this record's from 2013, so
Oh, okay.
I guess they reviewed it like when it came out. Or...
So just a couple years ago.
That's how my brain feels. 2013, yeah, like yesterday.
But Daniel already mentioned like Vanna Inget. I think this is for fans of like Vanna Inget and True Moon, those Swedish bands. They're indie pop with amazing vocalists. And I think the vocalist of this band, Maja Milner, might be the best of all of the vocalists. I mean,
Have you heard No More Art?
No, I haven't. No.
Because she left the No More Art, which is kind of more straight up punky, like pop punk shit.
Okay.
And started a soul band. Because she has like a really deep, beautiful voice. She No More Art. And Men in Decline also did the US pressing of that stuff.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the girl from Makthaverskan, like her kind of wails are so pleasant to listen to. It's so weird because she kind of like works herself up, and when she's like, there's a song where she's screaming fuck you," and it's the prettiest fuck you" you will ever hear in your life.
Yeah, I mean, it really is like the vocals are unbelievable, and I was listening to it. It is kind of like that dreamy, like mid-paced, like melodic indie pop stroke punk stroke shoegaze, but like the vocals just lift it into a different atmosphere. But I kept thinking Bjork a little bit sometimes, like just with the quality of the vocals on this record, like just like shimmering over the music kind of thing. What a great band! It's like, does anybody like this band? Is this a band that's like has Grammy awards in Sweden and stuff? What do they bands?
I often wonder.
They do, right? They have like Grammy awards and stuff, and
I wonder about a lot of those bands because there's like tons of them, and even now with like the Finnish stuff, like there's like a whole world of that kind of poppy or punk that's super radio friendly over there.
Right.
But I've never been to Europe, so I have no idea.
It just sounds like they might be like super popular,
Sure.
like in Sweden.
And then, stuff like that is popular in Sweden, so it's possible. But...
Like if I turned on the radio and that stuff started playing, I would listen to the radio nonstop.
I'm so happy you talked about this band because I probably would not have known about this band otherwise, and so good. This is like the.
Is that the first one? Yeah, that's the first one.
First one. It's the Japanese one. It has a bonus, the 7-inch.
I need that CD.
Can I have it? It has the Witness 7-inch. The 7-inch version is a bonus track.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's it. And the OB, of course. Get the OB.
That the most important part of every CD.
What a fantastic band! I'm a sucker for this stuff recently. True Moon as well is another one, like a band I've talked about on this show. So good.
They played here like back in March, I want to say. It was awesome.
True Moon?
Yeah.
If I'd known, I would have gotten on a bus from Arkansas
That's a Pittsburgh level band. like travel to Pittsburgh.
Test.
Yeah, I didn't think anything could be better than like the other band. I keep pronouncing wrong, but True Moon is unbelievable, and this is unbelievable. All these bands are so good. Check them out. Great looking record too. The third album is the third album good too?
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, which are numbered ones. Then there's a fourth one that has a name in Swedish that I can't pronounce.
With the color cover?
Yeah, with the color cover.
Okay.
Which that one's the poppiest one, and it goes down like sugar. It's so good.
It's on all my want lists, wish lists, on all of them. So hopefully it'll.
Well, now you know, because every time I watch the show, I end up ordering like 2 or 3 records, so now you know what it's like.
Okay. Hazel, what's your next pick?
All right, let's see. let's do this one.
All right.
So, keep repeating locations on this one, but now we're going to New York, and we're gonna do another Crusty record. We're gonna do the new LP from Savage Pleasure. This sounds, we talked about like Amoebics and all that earlier. This sounds like the Missing Amoebics record, like for real. Like the first song on it, this is gonna be my hot take. The first song on it sounds a lot like Axeman if Axeman were a good song. I don't think it's a good song, and I think this is like a superior version of it. That's my hot Amoebics take. I'm a big fan. Otherwise, I don't like that song.
It's too slow.
This is good. There's moments on here that are kind of Hellhammer-ish. There's a moment on here that's kind of Bloodstar-ish, and for anybody who caught my last episode on here, you know I like that. There's cool, like, spiky-looking artwork on it, and all the songs are named, like, the something, so there's, like, The Shimmering Darkness, The Century, The Glorious Descent, just, like, a whole record of those.
The metal title.
People who like the like dungeon stuff. There's lots of like dungeon aesthetic, and a lot of the lyrics are kind of like sort of grim, dungeony, sort of like not like explicitly political or like super obvious what they're about. More like dark vibes kind of thing.
More like anti-monarchist, like pro-peasant.
It's not as peasanty as something I like, but it's good. They were super good live, and this is another band that's like newer, at least to me. I don't know if they have anything else out, but I heard this and like. I wasn't gonna go. There's a show at Skullfest. It's like a Sunday matinee, and it's like, you know, you're tired at that point. I was like taking it easy during the fest, you know, trying to save my energy and everything. And there's a Sunday matinee, and they were playing it. And I was like, I'm not going to that. And then I kept listening to this record, and I was like, damn it, now I gotta go to that Sunday matinee just for this. So I did, and I like lurked in the corner for it, sitting down for as much as possible. And then I saw this band and like, all right, we're doing this. I'm going up front. I'm going to go like watch this band. And then I'm going to like zip off to the night show where I can't miss anything because it's all favorites. So this is another band that I've gone out of my way for things that I like wouldn't have otherwise gone to for. So that's, you know, another exciting one that I'm really into and looking forward to seeing what they do next. And I hope they come back and do like a regular tour for a non-Skullfest show too.
Is that that's this year?
Yeah, like it just came out like
nice.
A month or two ago, somewhere thereabouts. It's a new one.
Cool. Ho. All Dennis is in the comments. Hey Dennis.
Nailed it.
They're from New York City or New York State?
Yes, City.
So they should come to Pittsburgh. That's easy.
Right.
They come to Philly and you can come here. Easy.
Nice.
I guess I'm up.
Going on the list. Savage Pleasure. Scoots is a fan too. There you go. Savage Pleasure rules.
Okay, I'm kind of going. I'm gonna stay with the aesthetic that Hazel set up, but really far away from the indie pop.
Mm-mm.
So this is Hedonist, their 2022 demo, which is titled Sepulchral Lacerations. And I think everybody who listened to this and reviewed it opened the review with it like, this is not a demo. This is a proper fucking record. It's on Neon Taste, which is and even when he put it out, he was like, I know I don't usually do death metal. It's fucking great. So it's on Neon Taste, Sepulchral Lacerations Demo 21. I'm sorry, not 22. Time is a flat disc. And it's 6 songs of like, it's old school death metal for sure, but it's got that kind of Swedish, like early Dismember, Entombed, when they were kind of really fucking with melodies and stuff, really doing like cool leads on their guitars and stuff. I mean, the titles on this are metal masterpieces, like Fatidic Dread, in parentheses, Thanatophobic Ritual, Intrepid Repulsion, Lunar Bathysphere. So,
Lunar Bathysphere?
Yeah. And like, it's just really great death metal. Like, and it sounds like you could put this on Nuclear Blast and be like, oh, new death metal band out of Sweden, and people would fucking eat it up like candy. The songs are distinct. The riffs are so tasty, so good. The recording for, if this is a demo, I want to, if I ever do a band again, I want to record it where this demo was recorded, and I want everything I ever recorded to be redone by these people, because it sounds like a proper metal record where like there's effort into making it like cohesive. There's effort into making the songs kind of punch when they have to, pull back when they have to. The vocal is just beautiful, like old school death metal vocal, and on Neon Taste. So like he probably has it up. It's, I don't think it's worth that much money, like even the colorway that he did. Like, and if you like old school death metal and don't mind a little bit of that Swedish stuff to it, and you know, not to say that it's all like throwback, like rehashing, because there is some newer ideas in it. There's the song lengths and some of the organizing of the different parts of the songs are really kind of modernish death metal. But yeah, it's just an amalgam of everything I love about death metal. I love Dismember, I love Entombed, I love Malot. All the Gothenburg stuff is like really big for me. So yeah, I really want them to do something else, because it's been 3 fucking years and we have a demo. But if this is all they ever do, then that's like the epitome of like quitting at the top. This is fucking flawless death metal.
I hope they get noticed a little bit, because you know, old school death metal is such a, there's like 1,000,001 bands right at the moment.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't get sort of lost in the, and some of them are good, and there's a lot of bands that are
there's
not.
A lot of rehash that's just not. And like talking about like what happened to you with Burning Kitchen, where like there's going to be kids who like the bands that are doing that not particularly you know, unique death metal or new or whatever, that's going to be their way in, and they're going to care about that. And then they'll, you know, whatever. So it has, you know, I try not to be too, back in my day, we cared about our metal. Like, but there's more than there used to be.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose there's so much to sort of mine from, you know, that you can sort of dredge up and rehash and blah, blah, blah. But,
well, that's why I think like these guys kind of stand out to me, because they pick stuff, because you'll get like the traditionalists, like it has to sound like the first Benediction demo and only that. And like it can't have any clean anything. It can't be well produced. And then you have like the people who followed In Flames off into wherever they went. So this is grabbing stuff from different areas of death metal and making something really fucking awesome that just fucking goes hard.
And on a punk label.
Yeah. I mean, like, imagine it was that good. Like a punk guy was like, I got to put this out.
Right.
Like Bootlicker and then this guy.
Yeah, isn't Neon Taste done by Bootlicker guys, right? Guy from Bootlicker.
No? I don't know if it's one of them, but but Neon Taste has done all the Bootlicker stuff in North America.
Right. Nice. All right, Rachel, what's your death metal pick?
My pick doesn't have any thematic connection to anything that anyone has shown so far. The next 2 things I'm going to show are kind of synthy, but they're synthy in like utterly different ways. So I have this big box set, and I'm so like,
I know what that is.
You know what it is?
I do. Just by seeing the tip of it, I knew what it was.
That was quick.
Just from the stripes on the top.
Yeah.
Well,
that's volume 1, right? That's the first box.
This is volume 2.
Okay.
Volume 1 isn't even sold out yet. Volume 2 is somehow. It came out like 10 years ago.
I want to say about 10 years ago.
Anyway, we're talking about the minutiae of pressings of a record that I've not said what it is yet. This is Nigerian music it was happening kind of at the same time as like no wave and synth punk, synth pop, like the beginnings of like dance, electronic dance music kind of stuff were happening in the United States, but this was in Nigeria. Huge in Nigeria. I think 100% synth. Like kind of minimalist, repetitive, like funky as hell. Made by this like kind of lunatic who nobody really knows like who he was, and it's William Onyeabor.
Yes.
This is a box set of his second. He put out 8 LPs in 8 years, and then he found Jesus and like disappeared. Like wouldn't talk to anyone, wouldn't play music. I think in like 2017 he gave an interview, but like basically like anytime he would talk about what he did before music, after music, during when he was making music, he would say different things. Like he said he was a filmmaker. This record has the logo of his film company, which made no films.
Yes, there you go.
WAYLT.
Crashes in Love.
Yeah, I need to see a movie about this person already.
Oh, there is an actual. There's a short documentary about him.
Yeah, there's a short documentary about him. But yeah, this one is fantastic.
Yeah.
The Something You'll Never Forget is. It sounds kind of like "Girlfriend Is Better" by the Talking Heads. Like when I first heard this, I was like, "Oh, Talking Heads must have heard this, and that's like where they got their Afrobeat thing." But actually, no, like they didn't. Like this was happening at the same time as the Talking Heads. And yeah, it's that really like super funky, layered, but then like he'll just like go off on weird like tangents with like the synth sounds like while he's recording it, you know, like he'll just be like like all over it, and like and the songs are like very often like 10 minutes long
songs, kind of psychedelic too, right?
Yeah, it's pretty like they vary. Some of them are kind of like it's a mixture between like funk. And then, like, wherever he was, like, I don't know where he was getting this synth stuff from. Like, it seems like he probably did listen to, like, Kraftwerk, or maybe he was listening to Africa Bambaataa. And then also mixed with, like, some traditional Nigerian music, some kind of, like, reggae-ish stuff. And then, like, if you thought that only anarcho bands could have giant fold-out newsprint posters, I can't even fit it on the screen. This like whole packaging is like
it's wild,
pretty amazing. Like it's on the Lockabop,
and
they have little booklets that's like we couldn't figure out what the truth was about him. Like they found him, they talked to him, they licensed the music. He wouldn't talk to them about the music. Like everyone they talked to was like, oh yeah, he was a film producer. Oh, he was a lawyer. Like he went to Oxford. He went to like, you know, he went to the Sorbonne. He went to school in Russia. Like
that was that thing where people said that he had like his own factory and stuff too, right? Something like that.
He owned a flour mill, but he had he did have a recording studio.
Right.
But yeah, or supposedly he owned a flour mill. He had a lot of money. He obviously had a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had all these synths and stuff that could not have been easy to get. This is a song called Hypertension, which is about hypertension, like the problem of like, you know, having high blood pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole like even like the labels are like everything's kind of like it says like Lockabop on it and stuff, but it's all kind of like what the original packaging and was like. It's like very, very beautifully done.
Lockabop is like David Byrne from Talking Heads label, right?
He has something to do with it, but I'm not sure like that he was directly involved with it at this point. Like I don't think like he was at one point. I was sort of thinking about that. Just like David, like the Talking Heads, and the fact that like while you could say that they were culturally appropriative, they did actually feature these musicians. And like, yeah, Lockabop with like, certainly David Byrne has like curated comps for them. I actually meant to look it up because I always thought of it as his label too, but I'm not.
He had that other label in the 90s where he did a lot of like African and Latin American stuff. Tupamaro Records.
What was it?
I think it was like Tupamaro Records or something like that. It was a Spanish word, and he did a lot of like kind of finding.
Oh, do you mean
and
Putumayo?
Putumayo, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I don't think that's David Byrne either.
There's
No.
the reason I said that, there's like a compilation that he did of like old, I think it's like, it might even be Colombian or it's Peruvian maybe, like Peruvian like music from the 70s, like a compilation, but he had to go and put a modern recording of his own band in the middle of that like compilation, which was that was a kind of
I vaguely remember this because I lived in Miami in the 90s, and my friend's dad was a record producer. David Byrne would crash at their house, and he was doing like a lot of scouting of like old Latin American recordings that were in Miami at the time and stuff. Right. And he had a label that he did some stuff on, but I can't remember what it was called. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Putumayo. I mean, I can't remember what the word was, but he did like some release of like old Latin American music. Might have been like a Peruvian thing he was doing, but I have vague memories of this in the long agos.
Yeah, I have a great like comp of Brazilian music that he put together.
The African psychedelic African, is that one too? There's some really good comps that he put together, right?
Yeah. Like, I'm not a huge fan of his, but that dude really respects like Latin American music, which, you know.
But the wild thing about the William Onyeabor is where if you can't find or get the box sets, like each record is being like released as like a standalone, right? And there's a double LP, like the best of two, which is like a kind of good place to start.
It's called Who Is William Onyeabor?
Yes. Yeah.
But it's really like it varies a lot. Like there's a lot of variation in the sound, and it is like he was just some kind of like eccentric genius, and like just like churned out these amazing records, like with these like epic crazy songs on them. And like,
you ever seen like an original in the wild of any of his records?
No, never.
I've seen like 3 like since I've been in Osaka, and it's like every single one of them is just like disintegrated. It's like there's like 1/3 of the cover is left.
They're partied on,
beat to hell for like $500.
Yeah,
it's like
they're not. I mean, I assume that because he was like a very, very popular. Like, so I'd guess in Nigeria, like they're not probably not that hard to find.
Right.
But you have to go to Nigeria, like you know.
Nice.
That's a pretty tough test, going to Nigeria to pick up the record.
Nice. All right. Oh, it's my turn. Hey, is anyone else suffering from post-punk fatigue syndrome around this?
A little bit.
There's a lot of it about. There's a lot of post-punk, modern post-punk.
A lot of reverb going around these days.
A lot of reverb in the air these days, yeah. But there's still some like old school like post-punk, which is kind of being like reissued and rediscovered. And I'm happy to report that this is a really good one, and it's from Spain. And it was from 1982. Spain 82. So it's like old school, first wave post-punk. I think it's like 2 Swedish guys and 2 Swedish guys. No, 2 Spanish guys and 2 Swedish guys living in Madrid in the 80s, making amazing music. 2 LPs. This is the first time it's ever been reissued. It's Décima, Víctima. There you go. Oh, this sort of was like, okay.
Yeah, that's Onda Madrileña stuff. Like,
yes.
Oh, it's so good.
This is a Munster Records reissue from like this year. Just came out. I know. There's something about it. I mean, they come out and say like, biggest influences were like Joy Division and The Cure. They don't like hide that. But that Fuera de Sector record that came out on, this doesn't sound anything like that record. I just want to make that clear. But I get some of the sort of same feelings from this record that I get from it's very like, it just sounds like it's like in this like sort of seedy, dark, like dimly lit sort of nightclub, and it's got this sort of twang, and it's kind of like danceable. It's kind of sultry, even though it's like post-punk. It's very sort of unique, it sounds very hot. I feel hot when I'm like listening to this record. It's very like steamy. It's not cold and dry and icy like you might think from like most post-punk. It's very like warm and vibrant and sort of like danceable, which kind of gives it a really unique feel to it. It's great, and lyrics in Spanish.
That whole scene, what they call the onda madrileña, like the 82-ish to 85-ish with Alaska and Los Monoides and like all the bands that what's her name did, Anna something, that there's like a ton of that stuff. Because like as a kid, growing up in Colombia, whenever some of those bands have like really poppy hits, even though you go back and they're kind of like darky post-wave stuff, but it would trickle into the radio and stuff. So I would get them on these comps of like just radio rock music and stuff, and going back and checking on it, there's just so much of it. Do you know that band Rata Negra?
Yes.
You know that they did a 7-inch where the B-side was a song called Problemas No, which is one of those bands. And if you go back, that band did like 2 LPs, and then each of the 2 dudes in that band went off and did like another 2 bands, and like it's this huge family tree of like this very awesome like synthy, dancey, fucking dark stuff. And like
Ana Cura?
Yes.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, from Alaska Monoides, she did, and she was ostensibly the first Spanish punk band. The one she was before that one. She did stuff after, and she still tours. She was just in Colombia. My friend,
she just played Spain, like Barcelona, like this insane fest in Barcelona.
That's the one you wanted to go to, right, for your birthday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend, a friend of mine, like sent me a picture of him and her, like after a show. Like he went and saw her, and like he got a picture with her, and I was like, son of a bitch. There's our like.
She's still great too. She put out a record like last year or something,
and it's so good.
It's fucking awesome. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's just like, it's a thing that I know I exist, and I have a couple like older records from when I was a kid that in that vein. But it's just like between like the death metal and everything else, it's just like I haven't gotten to really dive into that.
Yeah, this actually surprised me. Disc Union put it up for like pre-order like about 4 months ago, and they had like a couple of sample tracks you could listen to. I was like, man, this is really, really good. I'm going to pre-order this, and I'm really glad I did. And we're talking about like sequencing as well. This is like a record that's definitely like not front loaded. It kind of builds up and builds and builds and builds and builds as you go through the record.
Nice,
perfect sequencing. It's like it's got a little bit of like surfy kind of like twang to it as well. Like it's fun. It's like post punk, but it's the total opposite of like cold and icy. Although like the first track is the slowest. So I was like, I don't know, but then it kind of builds and builds and builds and builds. And so yeah, Décima, Víctima.
Yeah.
Oh,
great stuff.
I think I have to turn off my lamp and plug in my laptop. I'll be right back.
All right.
You guys can keep talking. I'll be able to hear you.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I have never heard of that record, but it sounds up my alley.
I think it's kind of pretty obscure. I would never have heard of it if this reissue hadn't have been. It's Munster Records, big label. It's out there. It's really good. Even though I am suffering from post-punk fatigue.
Munster's an interesting label.
They go the whole.
They're all over the place.
Yes, yeah, kind of big label. I mean, they almost not major, but big indie label, right?
But then they put out all this like old South American garage rock. I have like a Modern Lovers record.
Yeah.
And then they put out things like this. Like they're just like really interesting choices.
I kind of like that. Like I said, that this record and the Forever Sector record don't sound anything like each other, but I still got the same like feeling from them. It's I like that one.
I liked that record a lot, so that makes me want to check this one out more.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it, but it just gives me the same like. When I'm listening to it, I'm thinking of the same things. I'm like in a dimly lit bar in Madrid in like 1978, which is before the record came out, but nevertheless I'm there. I know, just has a certain like sultriness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I caught that vibe. I saw Fuera de Sector at Skullfest too, and that sultry is a good term for it.
I had it down on my notes, sultry, which I think might be the first time I've ever used that word on this program.
You got to remember to write notes.
I don't know. It's if I don't really look at them. It's just like a safety net.
Yeah.
It's the process of writing them down and putting them through your brain.
Yeah, puts it in your head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you do better than me without notes, so I wouldn't worry about it. What's your next pick?
I forget, are tapes allowed?
Yes.
All right, so we're doing another Crusty New York release that's also new, that just came out this year. And to be honest, I don't buy like a whole lot of tapes. It's not like my favorite format, but there are things that I will buy on tape because I like them enough that I really want to have the physical copy of it. And this was one of them. This is the tape by Love and Compassion. I really want this art to be visible, so hopefully it's visible.
Is it possible to take out the?
Yeah, it has some
tricky.
Some of my favorite cover art. All the bands, all the Crusty bands, like we talked about this last time, they're all doing like, the Warhammer fan art with like the monsters and the weapons and stuff. And this one's got like a lamb chilling in a field with flowers and like a sunrise behind it. It's really different and really unique, but it still has that same kind of like vibe to it that's stylistically appropriate, but it's not generic, which I like. And musically, I really like this band. They're like raw. They're probably the least metal of any of the Crusty releases that I'm featuring this time. Definitely more on the like raw, like real just nasty guitar tone. Not a lot of like solos or leads or things like that. Super gravelly vocals. There's like a spoken interlude on one of the songs. Really cool stuff. That's another band that I really want to see live but haven't yet. And they're part of this whole like explosion of New York crust stuff that's going on right now. There's this label, this one that put it out, is Peace of Mind in a Troubled World. This is the like advertising flyer they did. Look at like all those cool like decorative elements and stuff on there. They have a really awesome aesthetic, which is a huge plus for me. It's unique. You can look at it and see like this is of a time and place that's happening right now, and I love seeing that develop. There's a lot of really good stuff on there. Like there's the Love and Compassion tape. There's a Witness demo. There's the most recent Flower record. There's a No Knock record. There's like their State Manufactured Terror record. So like this whole scene right now seems like it has a lot going on that I'm really excited about, which I think is great. And this is Love and Compassion tape is like a really cool example of it. So it seems like a good selection to represent that.
Nice. It's new to me.
New to me too.
Yeah, they're a new band. Like this tape just came out. I think actually, I don't remember how I found out about this. It was one of those like really random, saw a post about it somewhere, and like then it dropped on YouTube or whatever. So I was listening to it online, and it's like, when's this coming out? Where do I find out about this? They're very offline. Like that's the other thing I've noticed about a lot of these bands is like they don't have Instagrams, they don't have like TikToks or that, which I really like. I like the fact that they're like not, trying to be like internet, like social media or whatever, but it does also make the stuff kind of hard to track down sometimes. So like, especially with a name like Love and Compassion, you try looking for stuff with this online, you get a lot of weird stuff that has nothing to do with it. So it's a little hard to track down, but it's worth it.
That's what makes me miss like the like print Maximum Rock and Roll, where you could like labels and bands would have an ad, like having a centralized place that isn't like owned by a fucking piece of shit billionaire to like just find like what's all the stuff where what's all the stuff that came out this month or 3 months ago or whatever.
There's also the thing, just while we're on the topic of like the social media thing, there's also this thing now where you get like, and not every band does this, actually most bands kind of don't, but there's a couple of bands recently where it's like you've got to go through like every process of like how the record's doing. And I don't want to see that. I just want the record. I just want to know when it's coming out and where I can buy it. I don't want to know like that you recorded some killer vocals today or like we
overexposure.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We remixed like
You
track
don't
4 today. It's sounding
need-
amazing. Like, and it's like, I don't want to see any of that. I just want to know when it's coming out, where I can buy it, maybe a Bandcamp link. That's what I want. I don't want anything else.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with people too. I feel like the overexposure ruins it for me because you don't necessarily need to know all this, and too much information. Like, there's so much stuff online and everything. It's like, why would you want to contribute to this like dump of too much content? It's like, a little bit goes a long way. And like the perfect band Instagram to me is basically that. It's like, here's a flyer for a show that's coming up. Here's something that we just dropped. Here's like, it's basically just like a website, but easier to maintain.
I don't want to
guess.
see some guy
The
saying,
whole, like,
"Oh, I've just written the best lyrics of my career," and then so all
I feel like I would like to know less about almost everything in the world. Like,
well, that was the thing. Like,
everything.
like when I got into punk and stuff, and like you couldn't find about some stuff. Like, I got into like black metal like in the mid '90s, and the Le Jour Noir in Paris was this like mysterious collective of creepy fucking mythological dudes making black metal stuff. Now I know it was a bunch of nerds in their fucking houses with synth shit. But at the time it was the Le Jour Noir. Ooh. And that was cool and stuff. Now like the mystique, some of it helps. And also like I don't, if you're trying to have engagement, I can tell. If you're posting just so people fucking see things and interact with things, like you can tell. If you want to be like, hey guys, we're going into the studio next week and we're going to make a record. We'll let you know when it's done. That's one thing. But when you're like, what's your favorite song of ours? Do you think anything on our new record is going to sound like that? Put it in the comments. And it's like, no.
Anything that reeks of like you were saying, trying to get engagement or like trying to be an influencer or anything that I'm just like, no, like I don't care how many people like this post. It's just it's just a website.
Yeah. It's like I make like 2 posts about this show like every week. One is the graphic, and then another one is the link. And I feel kind of like I'm being a bit pushy, like even doing that. It's like.
See, I'll admit that like my record label is basically a secret because I'm terrible at promoting. I've done stuff for like big, Cloud Rat, which is kind of a bigger band and stuff, and like
Cloud Rat's great.
But I fucking can't like. I just feel gross being pushy about it.
I've got to say,
I'll put a post when a record's coming out. I'll fucking put links, stuff. Maybe a couple, once or twice. I've done like a preview track or something or whatever. But more than that, I feel shitty.
It's like I was going to say, like I think the best example of like how to do this is like that Swankys reissue. Because Tom has been working on this for 3 years. Can you imagine the amount of times he might have been sat thinking, "Oh God, like I've just got this, like, the amazing, like remix from Abbey Road. I want to tell everyone," but he didn't. He didn't say anything. We just got it. That's coming out next week, and it was like, yes, this is amazing. Like 3 years, he just sat on this. Didn't say a word about it. Respect, full respect. I don't want to hear about like maybe after. It would be interesting, like how the process, how it was done.
Yeah, for sure. Make a post of like, this was one of the most important things I did, blah, 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 whatever.
Not before.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not here for anybody else's engagement.
Yeah. All right. Where were we? Daniel.
I like sincerity, and I like a lot of these new fans because they feel very sincere, precisely because they're not trying to be internet stars. That's bringing it full circle.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Enough of that ranting about social media.
Let's see if I can bring this back to my next pick. All right. So speaking of names that are kind of a hassle to Google, Sleeper Cell.
Oh, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, in my head, Partners in Crime out of Portland put this out. There's also, these guys are. I think one of them was in Crucial Unit at one point. Somebody else did Bloody Gears. Bloody Gears, and he was in something else. I remember getting this and loving it, and just in my head filed it in with kind of the thrashcore stuff of the early 2000s, with like Tear It Up and stuff like that. And I went back and listened to this over the last few weeks, and I was like, there is a lot of Japanese influence on this record. Yes. There's a lot of Japanese, some Swedish, but a lot of Japanese. And these guitars, holy shit, how did I forget that this was so unique? So this is 100% a dollar bin banger. You can find this record super cheap. There's a bunch of it on the internet. There's a CD that has like kind of a discography of it, of all the stuff they did. And everything they did is worth listening to. It's great fucking hardcore punk. Some like Death Side, crude around attitude type guitars on it. If it should be more revered than it is, I think. This is a fantastic record. So yeah, it just kind of surprised me how much more there was to it than I remembered. And thinking about it, like seeing, because the guitar player went on to do Bloody Gears, and that band has a lot. Then they were doing kind of the post-punk thing when nobody else was doing it. And like, he's such a great guitarist, and you can hear it on this record.
That wasn't it. There's a guy called Adam in that band, I think.
Sleeper Cell?
Yeah.
That is a kind of record I feel like at some point it's gonna get
reissued,
rediscovered, like maybe reissued, but or there's like, you know, just suddenly become like a record that people look for. I feel like that era, like that, like early 2000s, like there's a lot of stuff like that is like dollar bin, $3 bin records that people are gonna give a shit about. It's
I would file that next to my, well, not next to them, but along with Under Pressure from Canada, doing a similar kind of Japanese influenced hardcore. Totally forgotten about. Really? Whoa! What are the odds? What are the odds? Is that your last pick?
It was one of the options for last pick.
As soon as you showed like Sleeper Cell, I immediately thought of Under Pressure like that, because to me they kind of go together from that.
Yeah, for me, I actually have a friend that's writing a book about that era of hardcore, which is not incredibly well documented, like the thrashcore stuff. And he's been working on it for years, and hopefully it comes out. But he covers like a lot of bands that I think, and especially because after the 2010s, like the fast hardcore thing just picked up so much. And if those bands hadn't been doing that stuff in the 2000s, like there's no way we would have gotten to where we did.
Yeah. Definitely forgotten both of those. Like forgotten. Check your $3 bins. Like,
yeah. It's unless there's more than one person writing a book about that, which I doubt, he like bought out the like $7-inch bin at Phil's old record store in Philly. He's from New Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, no way, two people are doing that. But yeah, I bought all the like Tear It Up and like whatever records. Like what happens next?
Crucial Unit. He's talking to a bunch of Japanese bands and European bands and stuff. He's been working on it for a while, but yeah.
I actually went to see Sleeper Cell because of the Crucial Unit connection, because they were like really favorite band of mine when I was in high school. So I saw that, I was like, ooh, new Crucial Unit band, this is going to be exciting. And they sounded really different from what I was expecting. Still good. I think that show might have actually had a puppet show on it, if I remember correctly. I still have the flyers. Very, very like 2003.
You want to make sure somebody remembers your show 20 years from now? Throw a puppet show in there.
Yeah, that's Chris. Was it in Philly?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course there's a puppet show in Philly.
In West Philly, at a like
that era.
At a like kind of artistic like space venue, not a house or anything. Yes, of course there was a puppet show.
Yeah.
Bring back the puppet show into hardcore.
Watch it come back, and then we're back to
Chris
3 years.
that band is like a
This is why the
quality.
scene's been going wrong the last 10 years. Not enough puppets. Not enough puppets.
I don't think there was a homebrewing workshop at that show, but there certainly were other shows in that same spot.
Twas the style.
Yeah,
at the
I remember it was very memorable. Like I used to have a put on shows at like the warehouse where I lived in Brooklyn, and some people from Philly came and put on a puppet show, and they threw Goldenberg's peanut chews, which were hard to get in New York at the time, and it was like thrilling.
I remember those being a thing.
Rare candy.
There was like a Crucial Unit song about them too, and I thought it was really funny because I didn't realize that anybody was like that excited about the peanut juice. They were just like
vegan chocolate candy,
a corner store thing.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, it is. They're hard to get outside of Philly. Not so much anymore, but they used to be.
I almost moved to Philly like in the mid 2000s. So I was dating a girl up there, and the thing that had me almost moving there was that you guys had Wawa, and I was like, "This is the most magical fucking thing in the world." Because I lived in Miami at the time, and there was nothing like that there. So now when I go to like New Jersey or Philly, I was just in Jersey, and first thing I did was eat at Wawa.
I drank so much Wawa iced tea in that era, like until like 2000, 2006 in there, that you get like the big half-gallon jug of like sweet, different flavored teas. I drank so much Wawa peach iced tea in particular, and then they changed the recipe. The raspberry was good too, and then they changed the recipe in like 2006, and it wasn't as good anymore. And I mostly switched to Turkey Hill, which is like one of the other gas station iced tea brands that you get there. But I drank so much of that. It was like a mainstay for every show or social event or lunch or anything.
I remember being really excited to get Turkey Hill. But of course, in Pittsburgh, like coming back full circle to Crucial Unit, Turner's iced tea in Pittsburgh sucks, but everybody was drinking half gallons of it at shows, like every show. And I went to see, speaking of this era of this type of band, I went to see Votzak at
I know where this is going.
Pittsburgh. Before the show, there was an iced tea drinking contest, which ended extremely grotesquely. Like it ended with iced tea vomit all over the sidewalk outside of the venue. And I got there just in like basically just for the aftermath.
I read about that in like Maximum Rock and Roll and Short, Fast, and Loud and all that.
Tasty cake.
Tasty cakes.
Tasty cake.
I felt like
the fresh Samantha toast. That was the best. The juice dumpster and so many blueberry bagels.
Anyway, we're talking about
music.
Yes. What are we listening to, Rachel? What's your fourth?
Oh, it's my turn.
Yes.
Okay. So I mentioned. So the last thing I talked about was the funky synthy African record. Now we're going to talk about, this is like, speaking of post-punk exhaustion, this is from 1980 from Austin, Texas. I think this band only put out a single. I'm not sure, actually, but this is it. Band from Austin, Texas. It's synthy, post-punk, sort of verging on new wave, but it also has this like the aggressive synthiness of like Screamers or I'm blanking out the name of that other band, Nervous Gender. Like it has that little more of like a harsh edginess to it, but it's not like I feel like, I don't know if that's what they were going for. But but also the lyrics are like extremely misanthropic. It's this band called F Systems. And it's fantastic. It's 2 songs. It's signed. It's all autographed by the members. I don't know. But yeah, there's a song on here that's called People. Then the other song's called Naked Kiss, and they sound pretty similar to each other, like very like driving, synthy, catchy. But yeah, it just has this like edge to it that makes it stand out from a lot of similar stuff of the era. Like it's not trying to sound soft or pretty, but it is like catchy, and like it seems like they could have been trying to get radio play. There's a woman singing, and there's like an excellent video of the song People, which it is about like I'm so sick of fucking people everywhere, they fucking horrible, like, you know, it's not like that's the general theme of it. That's not but yeah, it's basically like everywhere I go, people. But yeah, it's fantastic, and there's a video that's like clearly like made at like a cable access station of them like playing their song. It's an actual live video. Like, it's a pretty cool thing to see from the era, from a band that was like, you know, not around for very long. And you know, there's like TVs playing static all around them, the like cameras all like woo, you know, very Night Flight kind of thing. But yeah, like if you like post-punk but you like it a little bit like, you know, on the like edgy aggressive side, F Systems recommend.
Nice.
Actually, like fell down a YouTube rabbit hole like maybe 2 weeks ago of there was a show in LA in the early 80s where they would just show kind of very, you know, public access level performances and bands and stuff. And there was like a good solid hour of like very artsy, post-punky, weird shit that of bands I'd never heard of and stuff like that. And I was like, I think that's
exciting.
That's an era of stuff that I need to at some point get into. Because there was a ton of those bands.
I also want to show a record that didn't make the cut for tonight, but I just want to show you the cover. It's sort of similar. It's from a similar era. Well, it's from 1984. It's kind of power poppy. It's a solo record by a guy from a band called Stratford Survivors, which is like a fairly unremarkable punk-ish band from Connecticut. But this is it. I just wanted to show you it.
Look.
I wanted to play a song from it on my radio show, and it's not on the internet. It is like I had to order the record, and I didn't get it on time. I ended up finding like it was on like someone played it on WFMU, and I like ripped it from the WFMU stream, and that was the only place I could find it. I had to email the guy.
I would definitely buy that if I saw it.
Yeah, the cover is amazing alone. It's decent. It's not that
great. It looks like the cover, like the art you would see on Atari games.
Yeah. It is like, it's like someone in high school was like, I drew this cool picture. Do you want to use it for your record cover?
What if a dinosaur versus a space castle?
Yeah. And the space castle has a force field, and the pterodactyl's laser eyes cannot penetrate the force field. Don't worry. It's good. Like, it's a good record. It's like actually like,
what's the back look like? Any good?
Yeah, just like that.
Oh, no.
It's like kind of power pop. It doesn't sound as cool as the cover. That's
except him. He doesn't like anyone in Pegboy.
Yeah. That's definitely a cover art pickup. Like, you see that, you're like, I have to.
You just get it to like have, like, you would buy it just for the art. And it's not like, if you see it, it's not expensive. You don't see it a lot, but it's very cheap.
It's got X. All right, last round. God, time's flown by.
Yeah.
Like a pterodactyl in space. I said I was going to finish in Japan. I started in Japan. I'm going to finish in Japan. 982, another reissue. Okay, I have like no kind of comparisons to this group. I think they're pretty unique. They put out one record, I think, back in 1982 on the Floor Records from Japan, which is tiny little independent label, all girl band. Cactus is how we say them, the name in English, but in Japanese, Saboten.
Oh, I love that record. That's a great record.
I'm struggling to sort of like, sounds like, because I can't really think of anything that this really sounds like. It's like 1982. It is kind of post-punk, I guess, but it kind of does remind. It's very minimalistic, very minimal. 2 guitars, bass, drums, and some vocals. And it goes back to my no riffs joke. This band doesn't play riffs. None. There's no riffs. It's all what are those things? They're like melodies, I suppose. Like because they're influenced by Eric Satie, the French avant-garde composer, is their biggest influence. Now, I've never listened to him, and I'm going to though after, because I want to check out. I want to check out like. Yeah, we're going back to like when he died in 1925, right? So this is some old music that these women were influenced by, and it is a little bit avant-garde, but not too avant-garde for a person who is kind of a pop guy too. It's very listenable. It's spindly, it's wiry, it's jagged, no riffs, and the guitars are always playing these melodies. They're always like these melodies going on, like, and very tight bass and drums. Sometimes there's very long like instrumental passages, and there's some instrumentals too, and then the vocals come in. I don't know. It's so good that this got, and it's on Subdiscos, Discos, which is the Brazilian label, reissued it, which is cool. It's the back. It's got gatefold like this. Look at that great looking record.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's awesome, right? Pretty.
You know what they remind me of a little bit is non-band. Have you heard them?
You know what? It's that early wave of like Japanese indie music, which came from punk but isn't punk, but it's kind of avant-garde
but also catchy as hell.
And catchy as hell, because I don't like weird for weird's sake or weird that isn't. This is very listenable and catchy, even though it's influenced by a French avant-garde classical composer. Furniture music. That's what Satie is famous for. Whatever that is, like furniture music. So it's like influenced by furniture music.
Satie is a lot of like piano. Like I've heard his stuff. I don't know what.
But it does sort of go in the post-punk bin, not the umbrella under the post-punk umbrella. It is definitely kind of post-punk, but I couldn't really think of anything that anybody non-band is probably the closest. You're right, it's probably the closest comparison, but so good. And I think this reissue is just as important and welcomed as the Swankys reissue to me. Maybe this is kind of more unknown. Probably, maybe different crowd of people that went to this band.
Yeah, I think a different scene, but yeah. But yeah, I was super like that was like that and the Rabbit. It's like a bunch of really good kind of Japanese punk.
Yes, and even like the Dioan, which also Tom reissued, stuff like that. Dioan, which Tom reissued, and this ties in again. This is an unbelievable little factoid. This was recorded at the same studio as the Swankys LP. Studio Dig, so it all kind of ties in.
Has anybody shown the DON records? I keep thinking about maybe showing them, but
I might have done one when they just after they came out. I think I showed them. So one little addendum to this thing, which is kind of really bugging me, because like sometimes you can't get much information about a band, right? So according to Discogs, there's a connection to Mr. Kite. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Mr. Kite, but like Mr. Kite was a punk band, like a first wave Japanese punk band, who appear on like probably one of the best Japanese compilation records, which is the Godzilla special. This is like the first wave Japanese punk with the mirrors and flesh. This is like studio side live. So, but like according to Discogs, there's some connection between Saboten and Mr. Kite, who are like a punk band, had a 7-inch out on Godzilla. But yeah, the side A of this is some of the best like Japanese punk of all time.
Yeah, is that like a later compilation or is that a?
No, it's original. It's like 19. It came out in 1983, but I think some of the songs are older than that. But and to tie it into Tom again, this is like Tom also said this is some of his favorite like Japanese punk of all time. So
Yeah,
just to tie everything.
Can you reissue that?
Yes, Tom, reissue this as well. Don't talk about it for 5 years. Keep it a secret.
Yeah.
That's my last pick. Saboten, great all-go band, kind of forgotten. Subdiscos, fair play to Subdiscos for reissuing. Doing amazing reissue. There's like a CD compilation, I think, too, out there, but first time reissued on vinyl. That's my last pick. Saboten. There you go. Right, Hazel, what's your last pick?
All right. So I showed the Under Pressure record already, but don't really need to talk about it because we covered a lot of the same territory about what I was going to say with it. So instead, we're going to do another forgotten or largely forgotten, obscure, underrated early 2000s record. That band that I like never hear anybody talk about except for people who were in like Philly or Baltimore at the time. I've known a couple of people who like got to see them and love them and are like, oh my God, they were a life-changing band, but like nobody else knows who they are. And it's sad. We're going to Baltimore specifically for the Wake Up on Fire LP.
Oh, I remember that band.
This came out in like 2003, somewhere thereabouts. I never got to see them, unfortunately. There's like 6 or 7 people in the band. I don't know how they like played out, if they played out very much or not. But there's like multiple people on vocals. There's a cello, but it works. They're not part of the like strings, like D-beat inspired kind of thing at all. It's just very like heavy, doomy mix of like sludge and doom and like a little bit of like heavy punk, but it's not like a D-beat record or like an epic anything really. It's ugly. And there's like a little bit of melody to it because you have the cello in there, but it's not like the music overall itself is way more on the like ugly sludge end of things with like really tormented sounding screaming vocals. And like the songs on it sound, you know, different. They're like distinctive from each other. But one of the reasons I like this record a lot is the last song on here, which is called 4 White Walls, which is like, it starts off with this long kind of drony, like meditative, motion, cello driven part. And then then it gets real heavy all of a sudden and the screaming starts and it's like a really intense transition and it goes through a couple other different parts. It's like really like harsh and emotionally affecting. It feels like going through all the different stages of grief listening to this song, but in a like good way. Really good, like just I'm suffering and life is terrible banger. Exactly what I would want from this kind of like heavy sludgy band. But they stand out a lot. They don't really sound like other bands too much. Like the vocals are kind of grief like, that sort of vibe. But nothing on here makes me think like, oh, this sounds exactly like so and so. So I don't really hear people talking about it too much. So this is one of those ones that I'll like prod people to buy. I'll be like, if you see this in the dollar bin, I'm like, check this out. I don't think it's that hard to find, but I don't know if it had like super wide distribution. I don't know how much they toured or anything like that. So hopefully more people will be inspired to check that out now because I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, I saw them play Roboto to like seriously like 5 people.
4 people.
And they did like I think they had 2 drummers. And they burned incense while they played, which is part of why people didn't watch them. It was intense, like in a
choice.
Yeah,
I saw a band at the Rock Room recently that had incense, and I can't for the life of me remember who it was.
I wouldn't mind. I'm glad it's not. You said that it wasn't like epic, like cello Crust.
Yeah, when you hear cello, yeah, they did not sound like
No, you always have to put that disclaimer on there because you think early 2000s cello, like you're probably imagining something that's like very, very different from this.
That's the first one. What label was that on? Did you say?
So it's Torture Garden Picture Company. I don't know if that label exists anymore. They were in Baltimore and then like left. There were some like weird things that happened with that. But yeah, I don't know if they're still putting out records or not. It's probably long out of print.
Right. Nice.
But yeah, you see it.
Like, yeah.
It's easy.
I only knew about that band because I knew people like in kind of that Philly, Baltimore area at the time. And they were like, you love shit that sounds like Misery. Listen to this. I was like,
yeah, some of them
like
went
Misery.
on to do that band Nux Vomica.
Oh, I know that band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think they like are a bit more well known. They're like if I recall, they're like punker.
Yeah, faster.
It was funny because there was an anarcho, kind of very minor anarcho punk band in my area in the 80s called Nux Vomica. But I suppose, yeah. You know,
yeah, they started like 2004 or something. You couldn't look it up on Discogs yet.
Right.
All right. I guess I'm up. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do my mic move of the night and sneak in 2 records in one spot.
Only 2?
Although, yeah, I gotta say that first pick with like 5 records in it.
I actually got that together and I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. And I put them back and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do this.
No, that was magical.
Magical.
But so like for the first half of the week, I had 1 record that I was going to show. And then I had a really shitty second half of my week. And my mood completely changed. So I'm going to kind of the 2 records that I was kind of using this week to get through. The first record was Shit Outta Luck by the Lillingtons, which is one of the few perfect punk records, in my opinion. Ramones core, kind of, but just perfect pop punk. Like silly songs about cheerleaders and getting abducted by space aliens but just the melody, the guitar playing, the fucking vocals on this, the catchiness. Like I heard this record once in like 2000, 2001 or something. And it was in my head for like 4 years before I bought a physical copy of it. Like it's one of my favorite records ever. It's one of my favorite punk bands, the Lillingtons. Shit Outta Luck and Death by Television are kind of like their 2 records that everybody kind of hypes up. I prefer this one because this one was more Ramonesy, but they went on to get a little more kind of Midwesty punk the later they went on with their records. But this, if you like the fun Ramones, the poppy Ramones, the catchy Ramones, a must. And there's been like, I have like 4 versions of this in a box that I have. I have like a limited like 1 out of 50 with art by B-Face from Screeching Weasel on it. Like I love this record and it was getting me through my shitty work week. And then I got laid off and I started listening to this. Chiller. Let me see if I can get that. It was on Dirt Cold Records. Came out in 2018. At that time in Canada, I want to say in Ottawa, but not exactly sure where in Canada. There was like all these bands happening at the same time, like The Visitors, Crusades, The Creeps.
I was literally going to ask you, does that sound anything like the Crusades?
So this is like if Histories and The Creeps had a baby. It's female male vocals. It's the girl that was also in Black Tower and The Visitors, and then the dude that was in Feral Trash, I think it was. So like it's dark, it's not very happy sounding, but it still has that like marked men creeps thing going. And some of the vocals and the guitars are very Histories on that last record. And just for a darker mood, but still want to listen to like essentially pop punk well done. This Chiller record, this came out in 2018 on Dirt Cult, and it's one of from those bands from like the Creeps and Visitors and Black Tower and all that stuff. It's one of the bands that kind of went under the radar, maybe because I honestly don't know why, because this is one of the best records that came out of that whole scene. But yeah, if you're happy, the Lillingtons, if you're just fucking eating shit for a week, Chiller, that'll get you through.
I love that kind of like that dark, but it's basically sort of pop punk, but it's somehow very, very dark and gloomy. I just love all that stuff.
Yeah, there's guitars on this that almost make you think of like, and I don't know why this popped into my head, but kind of like Ennio Morricone, like Western, kind of like that kind of resonance and shit. So, and like lyrically, it's pretty dark. I wish this band had done more, because I also love the Creeps. I have everything they ever fucking did. But if this band had done more, I would have fucking been over it like white on rice. It's so good. So both of them, super good. But I guess I just got halfway through the week and the selection of the Lillingtons gave in to that Chiller record. And that's my picks for this week.
I know you had a rough week. That's tough stuff.
Yeah. That sucks. Yeah. But at least you have like
at least you're here.
Pop punk.
Yeah. This was very. This became very like. At least I have that to look forward to.
All right, God, it's the last, probably the last pick of the day.
Yeah. Probably.
I'm
gonna shoehorn too while we're at it. Just super like if it came out today and I haven't gotten the record yet, so I can't show it. But there's a new Alien Nose Job record that I'm very excited.
I just saw that.
I pre-ordered that.
It's like this 7-inch came out recently too.
Oh, there you go.
Called West Side Story. Well, The Executioner, West Side Story, which is both songs about cops killing people. Which I mean, Jake Robertson from Alien Nose Job was in the band Astronomicon, and both this and the new LP have a very Astronomicon feel, which again is that aggro synth thing, you know, which is one of my favorite modes of Jake Robertson, which he has many modes.
He's a genius. I don't say that. Use that word.
Yeah, you can play like any kind of music totally authentically and like write an amazing song.
Yeah.
In like so many, yeah. But yeah, I do love that Astronomicon style, and these two records like really remind me of that. So, but I didn't get the record, so. So I'm going to go to Japan for the very end. Maybe so. We'll see what happens with this record. This is a band that I saw. Maybe this will totally give it away. I don't know. When they toured with Rotary Beginners.
Let's just take 30 seconds or 5 seconds to acknowledge the greatness of Rotary Beginners.
They're great.
Yeah.
And I was super psyched to see them, and this band was touring with them, and I was like, "That's cool."
I think I know them too.
But then when I saw the show, this band was like Rotary Beginners were great. This band was like mind blowing. I still think back about that show like they were so good. Super. I don't know where they're from. Maybe you know.
I think it's who you're talking about. I think they're from Nagoya. If it's who I think you're talking about.
Yeah. They sing in Italian. That should do it. They sing in Italian. They're Italian.
Oh, you know
like,
what? You know what? I was thinking of a
That's
Reality
not good.
Crisis, who are also from Nagoya.
Oh, yeah.
But-
No, it wasn't Reality. I have actually never seen Reality Crisis.
But tomorrow, also Nagoya area. Yeah.
Yeah, this tomorrow. And you know what? You're going to ban me from the show because this 7-inch is a CD.
That's the eject button.
It's a CD. And we were just talking about how
I mean, this 7-inch is a CD.
I snuck it in.
This bike is a pipe bomb. This 7-inch
Yeah.
is a CD.
I'm sorry, but this is fucking great. This is like a compilation that came out in 1999. And yeah, tomorrow are like, there was that, I don't know, do Japanese bands still do this thing where they'll just like perfectly recreate like some other country's like genre of
It happens,
music?
right? But when there was the whole like Finnish thing with like Laukas, who sang in Finnish, and what's that band that sang in like Esperanto? What's the name of that band?
There's a band that sings in Esperanto.
Yes.
But yeah, like tomorrow does that, like, you know, wretched and dusty, like this like gang vocals, like super fast, like kind of, you know, like Los Crudos kind of does that style too. And they're so good at it. Like it's super catchy. There's 18 songs. I love the song exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I love the song where they go pesos, 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 pesos. But yeah, tomorrow.
That's a good one. I need to like pull that. I don't know that I have that or not, but I feel like I have something by them that I really liked and haven't thought about in a really long time.
Like,
I remember really liking it.
Yeah, they have an LP that's yellow. I have that too.
Yeah. Yes.
But I just wanted to be a dick and show a CD.
You succeeded.
It's digital attack.
I'm gonna have to go back and like catch the actual mic after a CD is brought onto the show.
This 7-inch is a CD. But there's another one. Is it that band Revolt? Their album comes in an LP-sized jacket, but inside it's a CD.
Yeah, the Osrotten discography also did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was really irritating. Yeah.
It's fucking hard to store.
Yeah, it's so floppy.
Nice.
But
I'll let that one slide.
You won't ban me. You were talking about, it's funny because you specifically talked about CDs being not allowed a lot on the show, and I buttered you up. I showed a Nigerian record. I showed you. I thought about wearing my girl school shirt. Like I was like, I'm gonna do everything right, and then stop the bomb.
Fuck this guy and his rules.
Your elitist fucking vinyl shit.
Yeah, it's got to be at least one rule. I think that's an easy rule. But
and yet there were two CDs on the show tonight.
But it's kind of partly I did show a Led Zeppelin CD box set like back in like episode.
Okay, you have no standing to speak about anything being allowed or not.
Well, I hadn't made the rule then, though.
You made the exception for Led Zeppelin.
The rule hadn't been written down yet when I showed that. So.
Yeah.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Led Zeppelin as well. Of all the things.
Yeah, of all the things to make the exception for. I guess there wasn't a rule, but.
All right. On that note, let me just announce next week is kind of like it feels like an old school show. What do I mean? It's like people who haven't been on for a while, so I didn't want to keep asking them a lot, you know. So Matt O'Blennis is back; hasn't been on for ages. Stephen Mangione's back; he hasn't been on for ages. Christian Overall from Equalizing Distort and Decade, the Canadian band, does late era Discharge, Worship. He's going to be on. It's just, it feels like an old school episode. People haven't been on since like episode like 20 or 30 or whatever. So I'm looking forward to next week. September 20. Stephen's great. Stephen's great. Matt's great. Christian's great. Great bunch of guys. September 27th, 10 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you tune in. There's no big punk festivals going on next Friday, I don't think. No excuse not to tune in. All right, we're probably going to keep on chatting for a while after I press stop. But until next time, stay healthy